Greetings, all, and welcome to the Cognitive Edge, where you'll gain insight, innovation, and impact, not only for yourself, but to hopefully bring back to your classroom and possibly use it there. So, today I want to talk about really a topic that sounds futuristic, almost like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's really become part of our world. And the topic really it's biodigital conversions. The phrase may sound complicated, but the idea is simple. Biology and digital technology are starting to merge. We are seeing artificial intelligence, we're seeing health data, wearable devices, genetic information, um, health data, wearable devices, brain computer interfaces, biotechnology, and digital systems really becoming connected in ways we have never seen before. And so here's the big question for educators, librarians, researchers, and knowledge leaders. Who is going to organize, protect, explain, and make sense of all this information? That's a big, big question. Now, this is where knowledge curation comes in. For a long time, people thought of librarians and information professionals as people who manage books, databases, archives, and research material. That was always too small of a definition. Librarians have never just managed things. They manage meaning. They help people find reliable information. They help communities understand what matters. And they really help communities understand what's trustworthy and what should be preserved. But in the age of bio-digital convergence, the work becomes even more important. We're not just curating articles, books, websites, or videos anymore. We're entering a world where knowledge may include health data, biometric data, genetic data, environmental data, learning analytics, artificial intelligence output, and even information generated by the human body itself. And that really changes everything. Let's start with a very simple example. So today, a student might use a smartwatch that tracks sleep, heart rate, stress levels, and activity. A school might use digital platforms that track reading progress, attendance, behavior, and academic performance. A hospital might use AI systems to analyze medical scans, genetic information, and patient history. A researcher might use machine learning to study biological programs and patterns that humans could never detect on their own because of the complexity. Each piece of data tells a part of a story. But here's really the problem. Um, Data alone is not wisdom. A heart rate number is not the same thing as understanding a student's stress. A reading score is not the same thing as understanding a child's confidence. A genetic marker is not the same thing as a person's future. And AI summary is not the same thing as truth. This is why knowledge curation matters. It's so important. And ultimately, the future will not belong only to the people who collect the most data. It will belong to the people who know how to interpret it responsibly. Um, Bio-digital convergence raises some serious questions. Um, some that I can think of right now are like, who owns biological data? Who gets access to it? How do we protect our privacy? How do we stop powerful tools from being used in harmful ways? Um, how do we make sure AI does not turn human beings into ultimately data points, which I think may be starting to happen now? But how do we preserve human dignity in a world where almost everything can be measured? These are not small questions. And these questions are the ones that will shape education, medicine, research, libraries, government, and society itself. And this is where librarians, educators, and knowledge professionals really are going to step forward. Because the future of knowledge curation is not just about organizing information, it's about protecting people. Um, think about really what librarians already do. So we teach information literacy, we help users question sources, we preserve records, we protect intellectual freedom, we defend access, we help people understand the difference between information and misinformation. Now, apply that same mission to biodigital information. Imagine a future library ultimately where people come not only to find books, but to understand their digital identity. Imagine librarians helping students understand AI generated health information. Imagine school libraries teaching young people how to wearable device collect data and how that data can be used. Imagine public libraries helping communities understand biotechnology, medical misinformation, genetic privacy, and digital ethics. This is not far fetched. That is the next chapter. In schools, the topic is especially important. Students are growing up in a world where their learning behavior, their attention, and even emotions may be tracked by digital tools. Some of these tools may help teachers support students better, but some may also reduce children to numbers, to a dashboard, and to plain old predictions. That should make us really take a pause. Education should never become a surveillance project with better branding. Um, Technology can support learning, but it should not replace human judgment. And AI can really help identify patterns, but it should not define a child. Data can help us intervene earlier, but it should never become a label that follows a student forever. This is where school librarians and teachers can work together. We need to teach students that data is powerful, but it's not neutral. Someone collects it, someone organizes it, someone interprets it, someone benefits from it, and sometimes someone is harmed by it. That is a literacy issue. In the past, literacy meant really being able to read and write. Then it expanded to include digital literacy, media literacy, information literacy, and AI literacy. Now we need to talk about bio digital literacy. Biodigital literacy means really understanding how biological information and digital systems connect. It means knowing how personal data is collected, and it means asking who controls that data. It means understanding the ethical risk of AI in health, education, and in research. It means recognizing that the human body is becoming part of the information ecosystem. It sounds pretty intense, but it's something necessary that we have to think about. We teach students not to believe everything they read online, and that's probably a good way to go. Now we also need to teach them not to blindly trust every dashboard, every app, every algorithm, or every biometric score, because the device can measure your steps, but it cannot measure your purpose. A platform can ultimately track your reading and how fast you read, but it cannot measure your imagination. An algorithm can predict a pattern, but it cannot fully understand the person. And that is really like the heart of the issue. Biodigital convergence gives us incredible possibilities. It could help doctors detect diseases earlier. It could help researchers understand the brain. It could help people with disabilities gain new tools for communication and independence. It could help educators personalize learning in better ways. And it could help us solve problems in health, climate, agriculture, and accessibility. But as I said, it also creates a major risk. The more personal the data, the higher the responsibility. And a stolen password is very bad, but stolen biological data is worse. You cannot change a password and you cannot change your DNA. That is why, really, future knowledge curation must include privacy, ethics, security, transparency, and really access. It's not enough to just ask, can we collect this data? We also have to ask, should we collect it? Who protects it? Who explains it? Who is left out? Who is being watched? Who has power? These are the kinds of questions librarians and educators are trained to ask. And that is why I believe the future of knowledge curation will be really, it's going to be deeply human. Um, the tools will become more advanced. That's obvious. The data sets will become far larger. The AI systems will become faster and the biological data will become more detailed. But the human role will become more important, not less. Um, we'll need people who can really slow the conversation down and ask the right questions. We'll need people who can help communities understand like different complex information. We'll need people who can build trust. We'll need people who can explain technology without hype and without fear. This is really the sweet spot for librarians. We librarians are not just keepers of information, we're the translators of complexity. We help move from confusion to understanding. And in the biodigital age, that role becomes essential. So, should libraries and school so excuse me, what should librarians and schools do now? First, we really need to update our ideas of information literacy. Students and adults need to understand AI, data privacy, biometric tracking, digital identity, and um, algorithmic bias, ultimately. Second, we need to teach ethical questioning. Every new tool should be examined not only for what it can do, but for what it might damage. Third, we need to build partnerships. Librarians should be working with teachers, technology directors, health educators, science departments, administrators, parents, and community organizations. Um, in thinking, I came up with a fourth. We need to protect access. Advanced technology should not only benefit wealthy districts, major universities, or large corporations. If biodigital tools really shape the future, then all communities deserve a voice in how they are used. And we need to keep the human being at the center of all this. And that may sound obvious, but it is easy to forget. Technology has a way of making people look like files, numbers, trends, and ultimately categories. Knowledge curation must push back against that. The goal is not just better data, the goal is better understanding. The future really of knowledge will not be clean and simple. It's going to be messy. It will be biological, digital, ethical, educational, and deeply personal. But that is exactly why this work matters. Biodigital convergence is not just about machines becoming smarter. It's about society deciding what kind of future it really wants. What do we see? Um, will we use these tools to support people or to monitor them? Will we use data to expand opportunity or to sort people into boxes? Will we curate knowledge with care or will we let algorithms decide what matters? Those are the questions ahead of us, really. Um, and for us librarians and educators and the knowledge professionals, this is ultimately a call to action. We cannot sit on the sidelines and wait for someone else to define the future of information. We really need to be part of the conversation now. Um, because when biology and digital technology merge, knowledge curation becomes more than a professional skill. It becomes a public responsibility, really. So when you think about that, you really need to think about everything in a whole and basically um, how we're going to move forward with this. So, thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Daniel Sable, and I hope to see you in our next video. Take care. Have a great day. Bye bye.